Well, something seems to be wrong here. The Boulder Rocket's missing. And maybe there's a reason for that. It's time for the Boulder Rocket to start the next chapter with its new owner, High Exposure, and it'll be heading for New Jersey. She'll be on her way to become a working girl, working for Dave Dempsey of High Exposure Incorporated at Woodbine, New Jersey airport. Dave sent out two of his young pilots, Zach and Jason, to take her home, where she'll join with 17 other stablemates. Zach and Jason are going to let us follow along and share some of the highlights of the flight. It should be interesting. What could possibly go wrong flying across the nation in winter in the Cessna 150? Well, the plane's all pre-flighted and ready to go, and Zach and Jason are ready to hit the road. They have one surprise coming. This is the home of Amarillo, and they have over 60 aircraft. So they're getting ready here to climb in the aircraft and start it up and taxi it out. But unfortunately just changed runways to runway 12, the crosswind runway. And this is about midday return for all of the Amarillo flights and several more that are taxiing out for departure. And so here they are taxiing to runway 12. And as they taxi out on Charlie here for the last time here in Prescott, and then down to runway 12. After a 30-minute delay, they finally get into position for a takeoff on runway 12 with a left turnout on course. First stop is Grant, New Mexico, probably for a couple of reasons. One, 30 minutes of fuel time burned up on the ground. Plus, Grant's, New Mexico is quite high, 6537. And you don't deliberately looking for high altitude airports, but when you got to fly across the Rio Grande Valley and cross mountains on the far side, Sandias Mountains, it is an advantage to landing at Grant. It's got a nice long runway, good fuel prices, right adjacent to Interstate 40. So they'll be making their fuel stop and heading out from here. They just do off Grants and saved altitude. There's the Rio Grande Valley and the Albuquerque and the mountains on the far side that go up to over 10,887 feet actually. And so this will save them. They'll go around the north shoulder of that on their direct course. And from here, they'll be flying direct to Amarillo area. This 300 nautical mile leg will take them to the Trade Wind Airport just south of downtown Amarillo. It looks like the forecasted weather for that area that wasn't expected to develop this soon is moving in a little ahead of schedule and getting very close to the destination for their arrival. So this calls for another quick stop, another quick turnaround before they head for Oklahoma City, their next planned stop. By the time they made their turnaround and quick fuel stop, it was totally dark and it was clear the weather was moving into that area. This kind of was the overlay of the diversion that they had to take, but it's much more accurate in the actual flight track, which we'll look at in a minute. But it was clear they weren't going to make Oklahoma City, and they finally got to the point so far north the only option was to land and sit out the weather because it was continuing to move in and lower ceilings and lower clouds, and they diverted into Canadian Texas. Well, they landed there in the midst of deteriorating weather, and it stayed that way the remainder of that afternoon throughout the night. And it was early afternoon before they could depart and head for Sundance in Oklahoma City. Here they're scud running and looking for improving weather as they proceed toward the Oklahoma border. And this is the route to Sundance. And they arrived there and finally crossed into Oklahoma. This is the border, Texas and Oklahoma, and the weather continuing to improve. And you can see on their trace, ADSB coverage is pretty poor. It didn't pick them up almost until they got to Sundance. They were scud running fairly low, and that was a poor area for ADSB reception. There they are at Sundance. Well, with daylight burning, they made another quick turnaround at Sundance, off on their next leg, which would take them to Springfield, Missouri, the downtown airport. It would be a 236 nautical mile leg, and the weather was starting to move into the Oklahoma City area again, so they had a few zigzags on departure, but a short way out, the weather was good the rest of the flight. Lights of Springfield showed, they'd landed, and they had a good night at Springfield. Well, at 7:30 the next morning, they're roaring down the runway at Springfield Downtown Airport. Well rested, well fed, and looking forward to a pretty long day of flying. This leg will take them 253 nautical miles to Sturgis. This is a pretty scenic leg. They'll be overflying the Ozark National River System wilderness area, and no dueling banjos from altitude, but interesting area. And not too long after that, they're going to be crossing the mighty Mississippi and heading on into Sturgis, Kentucky. At Sturgis, it's going to be the same drill as in the past. Quick fuel, food, and relief. And they'll be on their way, this time heading for West Virginia, for the Southern West Virginia Regional Airport. This leg will cover 277 nautical miles, taking them from the flatlands to the beginning of the Allegheny Mountains. Continued good VFR weather today, and unlike the West, there's more than 30 good VFR alternates all along this route. As we approach Southern West Virginia Regional Airport, Zach gives us a pretty good look at the airport on final. And you can see we're definitely entering the mountains areas. Actual elevation's only 1,800 feet. And this is kind of a distorted picture of the airport, but from here on, you're in the Alleghenies. As you can see, this is pretty much a boondock airport. It does have self-service fuel round the clock, but not much else. But apparently, Zach and Jason did find something to eat. Well, the next leg will take them from West Virginia to Virginia, Tappahannock in Virginia. It's 248 nautical miles, and the sun will be going down behind them, and they'll be flying toward darkness for the remainder of the flight. This will be their last fuel stop, but not their last stop. Well, from this flight profile, it's hard to say whether our pilots were getting a bit tired and hungry, or was it just poor ADSB coverage? We'll leave it at that. Well, it's a night arrival for this final fuel stop. They're going to have similar problem though. No problem with fuel, but not much food available. But they'll get ready for a quick turnaround out of here. Well, now we leave Virginia for just a slight detour. We're going to head to Summit, Delaware on the Del Mar Peninsula. And we're going to be doing this flight for Jason, be dropping him off there. His transportation for the Christmas holidays are upon us, and I'm sure he has plans for that. So they'll be landing at Summit, and it'll be a quick drop-off, and Zach will be at the controls, and we'll be doing the next leg. Well, I hope Jason enjoyed flying the Boulder Rocket. and I'm sure he'll be revisiting her in the future with his professional work. But I guess it's time now for Zach to fire it up and get her off the runway and head for home. Zach takes this last 47 nautical miles on a direct course for Woodbine, New Jersey, the home of high exposure. I'd have to say the flight crew did an outstanding job. I hope Dave is impressed with Jason and Zach as I am. Well, it was going to be a late night arrival at Woodbine Airport, and all the hangars are locked up for the evening, but Zach's going to take the time to tie the Boulder Rocket down and even take a last picture for its arrival. Well, this is it, the new home for the Boulder Rocket, Woodbine, New Jersey Airport. This is primarily a banner towing airport and skydiving. She'll be working for high exposure, probably have a few mods before she's ready to go to work, but this is her new career as a banner tower for the Jersey coast all the way up through New York, special events. This is kind of what she'll look like doing her duty, and if she successfully hooks it, it'll come out looking like this at the other end here. Of course, there's a lot to do before she gets to that point, and like I say, some modifications along the way. But well, in this job, the Boulder Rocket's gonna meet many new, young, skilled pilots, and they'll be teaching her a few new tricks. And maybe she'll teach them a few tricks as well and help them stay safe. I've really enjoyed the airplane for almost 48 years, 2 months short of that, and she has kept me safe all these years. I'm really going to miss the airplane, but the Boulder Rocket's going to outlast me and go on now with more service and be a breadwinner, and there's nothing wrong with that. I wish the owners and the operators the very best. Where she'll fly from now on is a far cry from all the joy I had with her in the Southwest, flying over the mountains and the clouds of Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. She's been a wonderful airplane, and I will miss her very much. My flying days are wrapping up, so I'll sign off for the last time as Cloudbuster. Good luck to all of you.